Vedic scriptures or scripture references to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to beyond imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritual activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachment even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining the Bhakti Sangha conference call today. Let us move to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who all have joined the class this morning?
हरे कृष्ण वर्धन माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीतिदास नमस्कार हरे कृष्ण
Preeti Mataji, Dandavat my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Tiffany Mataji, please accept obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call every day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashumati Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण वर्धन माता जी all glories शिला प्रभुपाद and Guru Mataji. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. And to all the assembled devotees, this is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Megha Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Nice background, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasni Devidasi from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna Preeti Vilasni Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandvat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna. Is anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, and all glories to assembled devotees. This is Charu from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Charu Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam to you and everyone else. Mataji on the call. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Manisha from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Manisha Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Padmasaki Devidasi from Florida.
Hare Krishna Padmasaki Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Aditi Devi Dasi from Canada.
Hare Krishna Aditi Devi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. I offer my obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Ayan from West Bengal.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyamaguri Devi Dasi from Shyamaguri.
Shyam Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kamadiki Mataji, Hare Krishna Puja Mataji, thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcoming all of you to the Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Haridas Varya Prabhuji. Prabhuji is going to enlighten us on the Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, chapter 2nd, verse 3. Before diving into the call, I will hand over the call to Shireshwar Shyam Prabhuji to give brief introduction of Haridas Varya Prabhu. Prabhuji, please take over the call, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. So here is a brief introduction about Prabhuji. His Grace Haridas Varya Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Indradumya Swami Maharaj and an international speaker. Prabhuji has been associated with ISKCON for the last 24 years. Prabhuji has a deep enchant in rendering lectures from the Vaishnava Vedic text. He is a public speaker on various topics of Sanatana Dharma through the lens of disciplic succession of Brahma, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. He has delivered his lectures in English, Hindi, Tamil, and Malayalam across Dubai, Australia, USA, and India. He speaks extensively on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Valmiki Ramayana, and other Gaudiya literatures. He has a graduation degree in electronics and telecommunications and an MBA from Symbiosis. Hare Krishna Mataji, a brief introduction about Prabhuji. Back to you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Haridas Varya Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept humble obeisance. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and association to us this morning, Prabhu, and enlightening on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll hand over the call to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. First of all, I want to just check, Mataji, if my sound is clear and you're able to hear.
Yes, Prabhuji, it's perfect, Prabhu.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank Sureshwar Shyam Prabhu for kindly introducing me to all the audience. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I would like to pay my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis assembled in this August assembly. Many of you are seniors to me, and many of you are more advanced than me. So I would seek my prostrated obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis to bless me so that my words can be quite suitable to your hearing and it can please the heart and glorify the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhupayevaccha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om ajnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Didati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapata Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvaye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkipatamakham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwar Viyom Tatsat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I welcome you all to this wonderful session of Bhakti Sangha Japa Group, where we are churning the beautiful subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also known as the Granth Raj, the king of all scriptures. It is aptly known so because it gives the highest conclusive truths that we are supposed to understand in our devotional life. So today we have the topic which is given to me is to speak on 6th canto, chapter number 2. I would be sharing my screen now so that everybody will be able to see. And let me know if you can see the screen. It's 6th canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 3.
Yes, Prabhu, we can see the screen.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the confirmation. Prajanam pitaro yecha shastarah sadavas samaha yadi syatteshu vaishamyam kamyanti sharanam prajaha. Prajanam pitaro yecha shastarah sadavas samaha yadi syatteshu vaishamyam kamyanti sharanam prajaha. Let's look at the translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A king or governmental official should be so well qualified that he acts as a father, maintainer, and protector of the citizens because of affection and love. He should give the citizens good advice and instructions according to the standard scriptures and should be equal to everyone. Yamaraj does this, for he is the supreme master of justice, and so do those who follow in his footsteps. However, if such persons become polluted and exhibit partiality by punishing an innocent, blameless person, where will the citizens go to take shelter of their maintenance and security? So this is the question which is being asked by the Vishnu Dutas to the Yamadutas. Let's see the purport. Very beautiful purport, a very small purport. So let's read that. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The king, or in modern times, the government, should act as the guardian of the citizens by teaching them the proper goal of life. The human form of life is especially meant for realization of oneself and one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because this cannot be realized in animal life. The duty of the government, therefore, is to take charge of training all the citizens in such a way that by a gradual process, they will be elevated to the spiritual platform and will realize the self and his relationship with God. This principle was followed by kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Ramchandra, Maharaj Ambarish, and Prahlad Maharaj. The leaders of the government must be very honest and religious because otherwise all the affairs of the state will suffer. Unfortunately, in the name of democracy, rogues and thieves are electing other rogues and thieves to the most important posts in the government. Recently, this has been proven in America, where the president had to be condemned and dragged down from his post by the citizens. Seems like a timeless sentence which is applicable for every age. This is only one case, but there are many others. Because of the importance of the Krishna consciousness movement, people should be Krishna conscious and should not vote for anyone who is not Krishna conscious. I repeat, because of the importance of Krishna consciousness movement, people should be Krishna conscious and should not vote for anyone who is not Krishna conscious. Then there will be actual peace and prosperity in the state. When a Vaishnava sees mismanagement in the government, he feels great compassion in his heart and tries his best to purify the situation by spreading the Hare Krishna movement. So translation, a king or governmental official should be so well qualified that he acts as a father, maintainer, and protector of the citizens because of affection and love. He should give the citizens good advice and instructions according to the standard scriptures and should be equal to everyone. Yamaraj does this, for he is the supreme master of justice, and so do those who follow in his footsteps. However, if such persons become polluted and exhibit partiality by punishing an innocent, blameless person, where will the citizens go to take shelter for their maintenance of security? So a very beautiful verse, which is being spoken by the Vishnu Dutas as a counter argument to give to the Yamadutas. The Vishnu Dutas, they are putting forth the arguments that the Yamadutas, you are trying to come here and snatch away the soul of Ajamila. It is absolutely incorrect. So when we argue or when we present logic, there are various ways we can present logic. One way is to straight away refute the argument of the oppressor or the person who is standing on the other side. The second way is to give analogies to draw conclusions and say, look, this is what is supposed to be happening. This is the ideal way, and what you are doing is not correct. So the second way is being followed here. After saying the first two verses, they're saying you are not supposed to take away or snatch away the soul of Ajamila. The third verse, they are presenting a beautiful analogy, and they're comparing it to a king and how he should be. What is the role of an ideal king? What is the role of an ideal subject? And all these knowledge points are very important to know, because a king is supposed to act as a father, as a maintainer, and protector of the citizens. A king is supposed to be known as the father figure. That's why in the olden times, they used to say, Yatha Raja, Tata Praja. Just like how the king is, Raja is, that's how the subjects will be. In fact, the king is a representative of the citizens. At the same time, the king is a representative of the Lord. So the subjects in the kingly times, they used to see kings as the representative of the lords, and they look up to kings to guide them in proper Krishna conscious actions. So here the king is mentioned as a father. That is, he is the person who gives good knowledge, good counsel to the children who are none other than the subjects. He is a protector. What does he protect us from? Not only from the enemies from the outside kingdoms, he also protects us from the ignorance to fall into and to maintain our materialistic way of life. So in the olden days, the subjects or the community of people under a kingdom or under a king used to always look up to the king to protect them, to keep them on track, to keep them in spirituality, to keep them ensured that they walk on the path of justice and dharma. So what happens now? That's why Srila Prabhupada translates this into a government. We see that in modern days, very few countries do exist where we see that we do not find the kingly rule. There are only some few countries where we see that there are very, very few kings and princesses and princes who are ruling the kingdom. In all other ways, there is either a democratic or a communist government, or governments have taken that position. Nevertheless, the rule remains the same. Whether it is a government, a president, a prime minister, or a king, it is required for the subjects to look up to the government, to the king, to the president, to the prime minister, to guide them in the proper way. So this is being mentioned by the Vishnu Dutas to say Yamaraj knows all of this. Yamaraj is very well aware of this. And Yamaraj, being a just father and a just protector and one who knows this justice, will never do an adharmic activity, will never do injustice. And it's not only Yamaraj. If the king is proper, the subjects are proper. So all the subjects, all the employees of the king, all the others who are none other than the followers of Yamaraj, who are the employees of Yamaraj, the Yamakinkaras, they will also follow this rule. Because whatever the king follows, the subjects follow that rule. So if the king is just, he is following dharma, then the followers should also follow dharma. So the Vishnudutas are presenting a logical argument. Yamaraj is always following dharma. Then how is it that you, the employees of Yamaraj, the Yamakinkaras, the followers of Yamaraj, are doing an adharmic activity? What is the adharmic activity? That you are actually punishing an innocent person. And they are looking at Ajamila and saying that he's innocent because all his sins have gone away since the time he mentioned the word Narayan. So they're saying you're punishing an innocent person. So how is this possible? So this is the logical argument that they are presenting. And Prabhupada in the purport, very beautifully, he is mentioning about how the kings and the government should be. So today we will take some time from the historical texts as well as from the recent past. Because many times when we talk about this subject matter, about how the kings were, how the subjects should be, one of the thought process in the audience's mind and devotees' minds are, Prabhuji, these are all tales of the past. You know, Lord Ramchandra was the ideal king, Ram Rajya. This is way in Treta Yuga. Today is Kali Yuga. How can we apply this here? In fact, we can only say that even if Lord Ramchandra comes today, maybe the rule will not be ideal. Like these many people speak. There are many others who feel that these are all good topics to speak about the lost glory, the lost world, the lost empire, the lost rule, the lost king. But this is not how devotees think. Devotees read about the subject matters of the ideal kings, the ideal rules, the ideal devotees like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Prataparudra. They read about Mahabali. They read about Lord Ramchandra. They read about Maharaj Ambarish. They read about Prahlad Maharaj. These examples just to take inspiration and understand that if the subjects transform their heart and develop that consciousness, that rule can still be applicable. It's not a matter of Dwapara Yuga. It's not a matter of Treta Yuga. It's not a matter of Satya Yuga. And we will see today some practical examples from the recent past. And these have happened in and around us in the last 100, 150 years, which will give us confidence that these beautiful gems of what Srila Prabhupada has written in his purport is still applicable today. So let us take some examples of beautiful examples of kings and ideal kings and how they were and why the Vishnudutas are citing this example. Because however the kings are, the subjects are supposed to follow that. One ideal word that we use is called Ram Rajya. Everywhere in the political circles today, in politics, if you go to India or if you go to any part of political discussions, they say we need Ram Rajya back. That means we need the kingdom of Lord Ramchandra back. But let us know that the kingdom of Lord Ramchandra will be applicable only when the subjects are like Ayodhya Vasis. When the subjects or the praja or the people who are to be ruled, the citizens of the country are Krishna conscious in nature, are devoted and spiritual in nature, only then we can think of something called as Rama Rajya. Rama Rajya means the rule of Lord Ramchandra. Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentions Lord Ramchandra as one of the idealistic kings. So let us look at this word very carefully. Rama means Ramayate iti Ramaha. Means once you see Lord Ramchandra's face, it gives pleasure to the heart. That was the name which was coined by none other than Vashishta, the great sage who was in Ayodhya when Lord Ramchandra was in the cradle. Dasharatha Maharaj, King Dasharatha, called Vashishta and said, "Why don't you give a name to my eldest son who is now in the cradle?" Now we all depend upon others to give us the name, but the Lord is not so. The Lord inspired Vashishta from the heart that name that should be given to him. And how did he inspire? He started looking at Vashishta and smiling. And when the Lord smiled at Vashishta, and when Vashishta saw the divine child, who is none other than Lord Narayan himself, and when he saw the beautiful face and the beautiful smile, there was bliss which was reigning in his heart. And that bliss which he saw and he received when he saw the beautiful moon-like face of Lord Rama, born in the Sun dynasty, which is a contradictory in nature. He is born in the Sun dynasty, but then the sun is not the one which gives cooling rays of suitable comfort. It's the moonshine which gives the beautiful comforting rays. So he had a moon-like face, born in the Sun dynasty, and was smiling. It gave a very nice, blissful heart for Vashishta. And seeing that, he kept the name Rama. Ramayate iti Ramaha, the one whom I see and it gives me pleasure in my heart. So that is one part of the world called as Rama. The other part is called Rajyam. Rajyam means the rule, the kingdom, the sovereignty that exists. Ranjate iti Rajaha, it is said in the Shastras, that a king is supposed to give a basic tenet to his subjects. And what is that? Happiness. In modern times, you can equate the word king to government. A government or a president or a prime minister of any state or center or a country is primarily supposed to rain happiness in his country. And how does he rain happiness in his country? By keeping the subjects of the country very happy. And now the question comes, who are the subjects of the country? Who are the citizens of the country? So I open this question to the audience. So if this question is asked, there is a government and there is a boundary of a country, let's say America. And if this is the boundary of the country, who are the citizens of the country?
Americans.
How would we define the Americans? Okay.
Those who have taken birth in that country or land, they are the ones.
Those who have taken birth, Pralandan who says those who have taken birth, okay. Vanishri Mataji says every living entity in that kingdom, which includes trees, shrubs, bushes, jivas, animals, birds, every single living entity. This is the Vedic version. The Vedic vision is that the citizens of the country is not only the praja, it's also the vana, that is the forest. In previous times, people used to ensure that the forest and the livable part of the country were equal in nature. They never used to deforest the place and extend the places of living just to increase the luxuries. Now, one may argue there were less people, population was not that big. No, that is not the case. The people or the kings or the government used to ensure that it was 50-50. There were equal portions of forests, streams, mountains, rivers, valleys, by which richness in the nature is ensured, And there were equal portions of land which was domesticated, which was habituated, and where people could live. And a country was defined by 7 things. What are those 7 things? A country should have, a region or a kingdom should have a good king, Swaminaha. It should have a good king with good morals, good character. It should have a good minister who would give him good counsel on the religious aspects. It should have good brahmanas who will advise the king on the religious as well as adhyatmic or the spiritual subject matters. And it should have a very good forest in the vicinity so that people who want to follow Vanaprastha, that means the 4 social orders, when they cross Grihastha life, if they want to go to the forest, there should be a forest. Not that there is a concrete forest and there is nowhere that people can go. So there should be Vanaprastha, where they retire from the family life. So there should be proper forest. And then there should be kosha. Kosha means treasury. It should be financially well. We see that in the modern times, there are many countries, good kings, but administratively they are poor, financially they are poor. And they have to take huge amount of loans from the international monetary funds and they are unable to pay. We see in the modern day times, many countries which are reeling under economic pressure, where the kings have not been proper, the administrators have been corrupt, and they have looted the kingdom and the subjects are put towards dire consequences. So there should be a good economic and a good treasury in the kingdom. That is one of the reasons, one of the characteristics of a good kingdom. Then one should have good Paurashreni. Paurashreni means good subjects. Even the subjects of the citizens should be of good character. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Prithu Maharaj's story, a very beautiful narration is being mentioned that Prithu Maharaj ensured that nobody in his kingdom was jobless. Now, this is a very important thing. Prithu Maharaj ensured that every single person in his kingdom had some job to perform. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, that inaction is not something which is very good. We should be always engaged in some form of work, and that should be Krishna conscious work. So idle mind is devil's workshop. So today you see, you go to any country, they will sit with their TVs on, with their newspapers on, with their news on, and simply rambling about how things should be better, how government should be better, how pension schemes should be better, how Medicare should be better, how sanitary systems should be better, how sewage system should be better, how insurance system should be better. Don't we hear this day in and day out? They sit and discuss about these subject matters with no contribution. There is blame game everywhere. One is pointing fingers to the other. This is not an ideal kingdom. And we will see from examples how ideal kingdom should be. So when we do these activities and we expect we should have Ram Rajya, we should have an ideal king and an ideal rule, it is not possible. When the subjects are ideal, constantly speaking about Lord Rama, Lord Rama, Lord Rama, then the rule of Lord Ramchandra will be very easy to form. And this is what is very important. And the 7th thing which is important in a kingdom are good purohitas, good priests who will do yajnas, who will do activities which is for world peace. So it is very important for us to understand that all these things are very important for a successful kingdom to be reigned. Now, we can hear all of this and we can think, we don't have all of these things. So maybe these are past activities. No. Our intent in listening to what things should be is to change our thought process, to believe at least that these things existed in the past and not in a very distant past, in the last 300, 400, 500 years. And this is how kings and monarchies were there. So this is quite possible if we follow the rules of the scriptures, if we develop our consciousness, then these rules can exist even today. These rules of these ideal kings can exist even today. So the rest part of the lecture would be speaking about this subject matter. Is about this beautiful subject matter. And for that, we have to enter into some verses of the scriptures. So we will start with some of these examples which Srila Prabhupada has given. Yudhishthir Maharaj, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 8th chapter, we see that how Yudhishthir Maharaj is the ideal protector of his citizens. In the 8th chapter, he is weeping in front of Bhishma Dev. He is speaking to Bhishma Dev saying, I have killed so many phalanxes of soldiers. I have made many mothers widows. I have made many sisters widows. I have made many mothers barren by killing their son. I have made many horses and living entities to die on the battlefield just for obtaining the kingdom. Though this is not the right thought process because he is made to think so by the Lord and the Lord's will. But nevertheless, the compassion, the humility in the heart of a Vaishnava, though he is a Kshatriya, but he is a Vaishnava at heart, that is so large that he cares for each and every living entity. So in his Lamentations, in the first canto, 8th chapter, in his Lamentations, and I would like to just share one of the Lamentations that he does. We can see in this verse on 51, 1.8.51, he says, Strinam madhata bandunam droho yassava ihotita karma bhir grihamadhye naham kalpo vyapohitam. He says, I have killed, though he has not killed. He was fighting a dharmic war, but he feels he takes the responsibility. I have killed many friends of women, and I have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work. Now, this is a very, very grave and beautiful understanding. Many people think that by doing a fight, after that, when we do a lot of welfare work, there is a huge war, and then we give financial aid, then we give medical aid, then we give, job aid, and then we give lot of charity. By doing welfare work, people will come over the war. People will come over the scars created by the war. Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying this is not possible. When one war is created, that means it is creating a seed for another war. Why? Because somebody will lose their near and dear ones. That will create revenge in the heart. And that revenge will continuously flame itself till the other person is finished. That means it will create a seed for another war. So he's saying welfare work cannot solve. So in fact, by doing this war, I have created this endless cycles of war. And we don't need to see Yudhishthira Maharaj times. We can see in our recent times between any countries who are fighting. Has any two countries fought once and ceded that affair? No. This keeps on going. There is a 1970s war. There is a 1980s war. There is a 1990s war. There is 2000, 2010. Any single war which is created, it has got its ramifications, it has got its repercussions. So Vaishnava always thinks that what is the best for the citizens. So here, Yudhishthira Maharaj, being an ideal king, he's saying that I am the cause of all this suffering. I am the reason for all this suffering. This is a Vaishnava. He takes responsibility. So the Vishnudutas are saying, Yamaraj knows all of this. He takes responsibility of even one wrongdoing. So why are you taking Ajamila's life? It's wrong to take Ajamila's life. So they are comparing it with ideal kings and saying ideal kings don't do a mistake. And their followers also don't do a mistake. So the second example, what Srila Prabhupada gives, is of Lord Ramchandra. And in fact, for that, we should go to the last sarga of the Valmiki Ramayana, where Lord Ramchandra is being coronated. And when Lord Ramchandra is being presented the crown, Bharata says a very beautiful verse. And my dear devotees, I would like to share the screen again and bring forth that beautiful verse which Bharata shares. He says in the Valmiki Ramayana, before the coronation happens, he says this verse, which is in the last 128th sarga, it is shloka number 4 of the Yuddha Khanda. He says, Vari vegena mahata binna sutireva sharana, durbandha midam manye raja michham drasanvritam. He says, I think this venerable point in the form of administration of kingdom, he's saying this, saying that I have been taking charge of the kingdom because you told me, Lord Ramchandra, when you were in Chitrakuta, you gave me your padukas and you told me, you take care of the kingdom. But now let me tell you, it is impossible to take care of this kingdom. Why? Because it's a very big burden. How is it a burden? He says in the previous verse, I cannot carry this heavy burden anymore. Than a young ox would sustain a load. A young ox can have only a certain amount of load on it. But if you put a lot of load on the ox and it is being pulled by a strong bull all alone, it will collapse. So Bharata is saying, my name is Bharata. Bharaha iti Bharataha. I will be carrying the burden of everything, but still this kingdom and its administration is a very big burden for me. So I cannot carry it forward. And he gives a very beautiful example. He says, I would like to tell you, Lord Ramchandra, how big is the burden of a king. He says, in the form of administration of the kingdom, it is difficult to be controlled, just like a broken dam seeping from its cracks when breached mammoth stream of water. Now, this is a very beautiful analogy. I would like to read again. Just like if there is a huge dam and there is one single crack in the dam, the water will gush out of those cracks and it will inundate all the lower plains which are there. It will cause a massive flood because if there is a dam break, there is nobody who can control it. So Bharata is saying, this kingdom, which I am giving it back to you because it is very difficult to be controlled, just like there are cracks in the dam. Now, my dear devotees, I would like to say, when I was reading this, last week, I was in India and I was making my trip from Rameshwaram, where Lord Ramchandra built a dam, built a bridge over the huge sea, and I could see the beautiful dam and the beautiful bridge that he created. And while I was reading, I had the opportunity to hear about another place, which is near Chennai, which is on the way to Trichy to Srirangam, a very beautiful place called as Madurantaka. Now, this place is around, say, 89 kilometers from Chennai. If any devotees are planning, please do visit this temple after this narration. You will have great reverence to speak about the ideal King, Lord Ramchandra. Now, we were speaking about the previous past of Bharata, saying that it is just like a dam, and I am not able to maintain the cracks which is coming out of it. So, Rama, please take your kingdom back. Now, this pastime happened in the recent past in this place called as Madurantaka. It is in a district known as Chengalpet district, 89 kilometers from Chennai. Even today, you can catch a bus, go to this Rama's place called as Madurantaka Rama. And the deity that you see behind is the beautiful Lord Ramchandra, who is presiding there. And if you see his bow has many bells on top of him. And these bells also have a significant purpose. But nevertheless, he is standing there. The pastime that I'm going to say is very connected to Bharata's verse, which was spoken in the Yuddha Kanda. Some 200 years ago, in fact, 300 years ago, 1795 is the era, not so far, 17th century, 1795 to 1798, the Britishers were ruling India. At that time, in this district called as the Chengalpet district, there was a collector who used to collect taxes from all the citizens of the country for the British Raj, for the Britishers. And his name was Colonel Lionel Blaze. You can check in the historical records. His name is quite evident. His name was Colonel Lionel Blaze, and he was appointed as the collector for this place in Chengalpet in Tamil Nadu to collect taxes from the citizens. But next to this district was a huge dam which held massive amount of water. And just to let you know how huge was the dam, the square area mile of the dam was around, say, 34 square kilometers. That was huge. It was 34 kilometers huge square kilometer of mammoth body of water. And the depth of the dam was 21 feet, approximately 6 to 8 meters. So 8 meters and 34 square kilometer wide was this dam. And water was brimming up as the monsoon season was approaching. So this collector was responsible for all administrative work in and around the area and ensure that people are happy, they get water. And they were ensuring that all these places was having a beautiful way of how the Lord is taken care of, how the devotees are taken care of for their daily needs. So one day he found out that this 34 square kilometer area of the dam has got cracks and it was leaking water. And he was finding measures. He was talking to the local plumbers. He was talking to the local masons. He was talking to the locals. How can he fix this breach? Because if this breach opens up and the monsoon season goes on and there is a downpour, then there will be heavy losses. So he was finding equipments, he was finding stones, he was finding quarry, he was finding cement to all put together and breach these cracks. But he was still lacking good quality stones by which he could seal the gap of the crack of the dam or the bund. And he was searching, going around from one place to another till the time he reached the temple precincts of this Lord Ramchandra's temple in Madurantakam. And he saw that by the precincts of the temple, there were huge granite stones which were kept next to the temple. And these huge granite stones were exquisite quality and they were having high tensile strength and high withstanding strength to stop water and others. So he thought, why don't I use these stones and protect the dam? So he immediately ordered his people that why don't you go and procure these granite stones? It's just sitting on the precincts of the temple and nobody is utilizing it. When they went to get the stone, the priests of the temple came forward and they paid their obeisances and they said, look, Colonel Lionel Blaze, please don't take these stones. He said, why? Why shouldn't I take the stones? Don't you know that the dam is going to break and I need quarry and stones? He said, these stones are purpose. They have a specific purpose. We plan to create a beautiful shrine for Mother Sita, who is known as Janaki Valli, who is known as Mother Janaki. And we plan to create a beautiful shrine for her, but we are lacking some funds, so we have not started this exercise. So we have not started this project. So, but the stones are kept there. This belongs to the shrine. Then Colonel Lionel Blaze said, what use are the stones? And what use are the shrine? And what use is of your Lord if he cannot protect you? Will he protect you from this dam which is going to break? It's better to use the stones there than to worship such a person who is standing there. The priests again folded their hands with much humility. And he said, Colonel Lionel Blaze, I would request you, if you put a very silent prayer to the Lord Ramchandra, he is the ideal king. He is the father. He is the protector of the citizens. He is the maintainer of the citizens. He is maintaining us before you came. He will maintain us after you come also. After you're gone, he is the maintainer. Before you came, he is the maintainer. Don't think that you are the maintainer. And if you have a problem of fixing the dam, why don't you ask him? He will protect the dam. Anyway, Lionel Blaze, he thought that this is not going to happen. So in 1798 came the downpour. the heavy monsoon seasons, the retreating monsoons in November, and the dam started filling up. He became so worried. He thought that he will lose his job. And not only the job, there will be vast-scale destruction if this dam breaks. He sent messages all over to the British Empire. And the British Empire said, you have to stay near the dam and ensure it doesn't break. Now, what can he do? He went and he kept his tent near the dam and he ensured, and he thought, in his dream, he got this remembrance of what the priest said. And when all his options were lost, he said, if that Lord Ramchandra, who is holding a bow, if he can save, let him save the dam. And it is recorded in history, my dear devotees, by the British Colonel Lionel Blaze in his diary of records. On that day, he saw two gentlemen on top of the dam, walking up and down, just like they were protecting the sacrificial fire of Vishwamitra, ensuring not a drop of water flows out of it. And all the wonderful devotees were told to enter into the temple. And even when the waters came up, it came up only up to the lotus feet of the Lord. And he saw this beautiful pastime of these two gentlemen, or these two Kshatriyas having the bow and the arrow. And the next day he came to the priest and he saw the same deities. He saw the beautiful deities of none other than Lord Ramchandra, whom you can see right now. He saw the Lakshmana and Lord Ramchandra beautifully standing, that even today, the Lord is called as Erikatta Ramar. That means the one who protected the dam from breaking. The Lord who stood over the dam and ensured that the dam doesn't break. Now, this is what Bharata mentions. It is impossible for me, Bharata, to break and maintain a dam. Why don't you take care of it? And literally in 1795, the Lord protected the maintenance. So why I wanted to bring this example is that even today, the Lord is the ideal king. All we need to change is the consciousness. If we change the consciousness in the heart, if we change that the Lord is the one who is protecting us from time immemorial, then this rule is even applicable today. It's not that it is only in the Treta Yuga. It cannot come back. The Lord is residing, the same Lord is residing in our hearts even today. He listens to us. He hears us. He protects us. He is the Father who gives us good counsel. And he is the perfect ruler. So that's why we should actually vote for those governments which promulgate or which propagate such Krishna conscious ideas, which encourages us to ensure that the Lord is always in this way protecting us. And you don't see, even if you see the lords, even if you go today and see the Lord, when they are beautifully decorated, you can see the beautiful bow of Lord Ramchandra and the beautiful crown of Lord Ramchandra. And when you go and see, look at his face. It's not a face where there is a lot of sweat. It's not a face where there is a lot of effort. He's smiling as if he's doing it out of joy. He's protecting the dam. He's protecting the floods. And he saved. And even Lionel Blaze, the British Raj, they fell at the feet of the Lord and he said, there are some things which the British Raj cannot conquer. And that is the spirit and devotion and the Krishna consciousness of the devotees. So this is very evident. This is very clearly visible. Even in today's world, we get to see this beautiful pastimes. I'd like to say one more recent pastime, which you can witness, which you can Google, which you can see. Now, the reason why I'm bringing the recent pastimes is to have this faith that even today, these rules are possible, these governments are possible. And it's only that we need to develop that consciousness. And this goes to the recent visit that I had in the state, in my native state of Trivandrum, where the Lord Padmanabha is residing in a very beautiful way in Anantashayan, in the serpent bed. Now, this temple does not belong to the state government. This temple does not belong to any country. It belongs to the king. Even the king exists today. The Travancore kings of this place visit the temple every day at 8:45 a.m. And if they don't visit, they have to pay a fine. Now, this is the consciousness of an ideal king. The ideal king always believes that he is a servant of the Lord, just like King Kulashekara. King Kulashekara was an ideal Alvar. He used to listen to Lord Rama's pastimes as Ramayana. At once upon a time, when they were discussing that Ravana came and he captured Mother Sita, King Kulashekara was so absorbed in the pastime that he ordered all his military men to start and let's go towards Lanka and let's get back Mother Sita. Can you imagine somebody in the Katha so absorbed that he said, let's go right now and bring back Mother Sita. And all the military men did not know what to do. They couldn't tell their king that, look, this is a Katha, you're not supposed to act like this. They all walked. They walked for 3 days. And on the third day, they arranged a convoy to go in front and come from the opposite direction and start narrating the other pastimes that Hanuman has gone and seen Mother Sita, Lord Ramchandra has built the bridge, and now he has gained the victory. Or now when he heard that, he said, oh, okay, Lord Ramchandra has won. Okay, no problem. Let's go back to our king. Now, this is King Kulashekara. This is his absorption. And this is the kind of absorption that he had towards Lord Ramchandra, towards ideal king, because he understood that he is not the king, he is the subject. He is the one who is ruling on behalf of the Lord. And the same happens today in the beautiful kingdom of Trivandrum or Thiruvananthapuram or Kerala, where the Travancore kings, even today, they consider themselves as Padmanabha Das. You'll be wondering, when you go inside the temple and you see all the beautiful artifacts of the temple, in every single stone, quarry, temple, lamp, lantern, this would be very clearly inscribed. This is a property of Padmanabha Das. And even the kings had come down and put their swords and their crowns in front of the Lord and said, we are servants of yours. That is why that many years ago, in 2010, in 2011, this is not that far away, in 2001 and 2, just around, say, 20 years back, when there was a case put by a very wonderful gentleman known as Sundaraja Iyengar, and these are in the scriptures, and these are in the news, in fact, and I would like to just show a picture of these great Vaishnavas who are not in the Goswami times, who are in the latest times. Now, he is a devotee who used to stay very close to the temple. Now, I know him personally, and by the looks of it, he looks like a very frail gentleman, and as a vagabond who has unkept hair and everything, and who stays very next to the temple. And in fact, he's just outside his house, and this is the temple. Now, why am I speaking about him? He was a Supreme Court lawyer, and he was one of gentlemen. Materialistically, he was an IPS police officer serving under Indira Gandhi, but he was a Naishtika brahmachari who used to take darshan of the Lord 4 times a day. He was so attached to the Lord that he wanted to ensure the Lord is known as more richer than the Tirupati's Lord. It was his wish. So he filed a petition in the court saying that I am finding some of the vaults of the temple are having a lot of gold and it might be siphoned off. So we need to ensure that we need to open the vaults of the temple and a proper inventory to be taken. A lot of governments wanted the property when they opened the first vault, and they found out there were more than 1 lakh crore, more than the union budget of India, was the riches which was found in the temple. And they called the king, and this is the turning point. They called the king, who was 80, 90 years old, and they called him to the court, and they said, we understand that the temple doesn't belong to the state. We understand that the temple doesn't belong to the center government. We understand it belongs to you. It's your personal altar. And today we have found out that suddenly from the vaults of this, out of the 6 vault, out of the 1 vault, you have got riches, which is more than the riches of India put together, the Indian government in 2000s put together. We have found 2.7 tons of gold, which is only in gold dust. We have found Napoleon coins and emeralds and rubies, which even if you don't take the antique value, comes to around 1 lakh crores. Now, anybody's mind can turn. He was 89 years old when he stood in that court of the Supreme Court. And he said, "Why are you telling me all of these things? From time immemorial, I am known as Padmanabha Dasa. I am known as a servant of Padmanabha. How can the servant put a hand on the property of the Lord? It should remain the property of the Lord." So the Supreme Court, then the governments came in picture who were not Krishna conscious in mind. They came and they said, now this should belong to the people. It should be distributed to the people. The Supreme Court said, and that's when this devotee, who was a Supreme Court lawyer as well, he fought on behalf of the Lord. And he said, this should remain in the temple because this is the Lord's property. This is the Lord's activity. Now, these are modern examples. So much the story goes that the day he was declared, the Lord was declared as the richest Lord in the entire universe. Why man, what they could found as riches. This Sundaraj Iyengar, this devotee went, took the Mangalarti darshan, came back, slept on his bed and said 3 times Jai Padmanabha and left his body. In perfect meditative trance that he had achieved what he wanted, to declare that the Lord is the protector, the Lord is the Father, the Lord is the maintainer. I do remember once, and I quote, when I was chanting in the temple, I met him, and he was a family friend of mine. And he came and said, "What are you chanting, my friend?" And he was a staunch Sri Vaishnava. Then I was saying that I was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. At that time, because I knew he was a Sri Vaishnava, so they generally chant the Hare Rama first. So I told him Hare Rama, to which he said, "No, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu integrated it as Hare Krishna. So I want you to chant it as Hare Krishna. Follow your Sampradaya well, if you're following." Such are Vaishnavas. They're so welcoming. They are so wonderfully wanting to follow. For such people who have the consciousness in the heart, who want to ensure the Lord's rule reigns today, for them, the ideal king, the ideal rule still stays. Lord Ramchandra's, the Ram Rajya still stays. Padmanabha Rajya still stays. Krishna's Dwarkadish Rajya still stays. Ranachor Rajya still stays. For in each of these consciousness, we can develop that mood, that kingdom. And there are no mistakes. That's a perfect settlement of where devotees and the Lord come together. What are the characteristics of such a place? There will be no widows. The wives will live their life. They will not lose their life before their husbands. There will be no widows. There will be no diseases. There will be no danger from wild animals. There will be no untimely death of anybody. Everybody will have proper death time. There will be no wrongdoings. There will be no theft. There will be no robberies. All the elders will be respected, which is very difficult to find today. No creature will feel threatened. In fact, they will all be pleased. And no creatures will be killed one another. Everyone will look towards the Lord. Even the progeny of citizens will go properly. And there will be talks about the Lord constantly. The trees will bear flowers and fruits. There will be no injuries to people. There will be no pests. And the clouds will be raining on time. You don't need to seed the clouds to rain. The winds will not be stormy in nature. They'll be pleasant to touch. And all the 4 Varnas will do their job without any greed. And the most importantly, no one would speak a lie. Valmiki says, this is how was Ram Rajya when Lord Ramchandra ruled for the 11,000 years. So with that thought, with that aim, let us develop our consciousness by looking unto these great kings. But these great kings were great kings because they had great subjects who developed their consciousness. And under the tutelage of the king as a father, maintainer, and protector, they always followed in the footsteps of chanting the holy name, discussing about Krishna Katha, and always maintaining their spiritual practices. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this today's verse, such great kings are glorified and examples are being given and parallels have been drawn that Yamaraj also knows this. He never does any injustice. So why are you guys snatching away the soul of Ajamila? So there's a very strong point, but there is a lot of allegory and analogy. If we look at time immemorial, we get millions of such examples. Let us open our eyes. Such miracles of Lord Chaitanya happen on a day-to-day basis in and around us. Let's not close our eyes to the thinking that these were only stories of kings and princesses and princes of the olden times. These happen in modern times as well. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yadastas kalitam kinchit vidvam satpura yantatat yadastat saushtavam kinchit tat guru eva menahi. Thank you very, very much, all the assembled devotees. If there are any questions, comments, critiques, corrections, more than happy to hear them out. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for wonderful class, Prabhu. Very enlightening class. You reminded the pastime of Padma deities Prabhu, and also you're so fortunate to meet Sundar Iyengar Prabhu, and you spoke to him. You're so fortunate, Prabhu, to meet such a great Vaishnava. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. If anybody have any questions or realizations, please go ahead. Prabhuji, unmute yourself and go ahead, Prabhuji. Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
My video is not being unmuted, it's muted, it's not able to unmute. I want to see you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you. I cannot, I'm able to hear you, but I'm not able to, you're not able to see me because mine is muted and not able to open. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now you can on your video, Prabhu? No, I think your phone has some problem, Prabhu.
Yeah, now we can see you.
Now we can see you. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Prabhu, you told about this Ajamil, you know, because of he got stuck up. So what I'm telling is this Kali Yuga also, there are devotees who are chanting, but still some offenses are happening. Not like Ajamila, but still there are a lot of offenses happening, and the Namabhas stage is not crossing. The Shuddhanam is not coming at all. Because Namaparad everybody does, but then slowly come to Namabhas. So if somebody leaves this world only at Namabhas level, will he be able to go back home, back to God, or he has to come to the Shuddhanam level?
Okay, that's a good question. So first answer to that question, Prabhu, is that Namabhas also, there are so many acharyas who have commented, gives lot of benefits. But the Shuddhanam gives us the highest benefit, which is Krishna Prem. So Shuddhanam is something that gives us the highest destination of Radha Dasyam or servantal worship of Sri Radha and Krishna in Golok Dham in the best of the rasas. Now, it is not a precondition also, which we understand that Nama Bhas to Shuddhanam, and then that's the typical cycle that follows to get the highest destination. Sometimes there is a lot of lifetimes between Namabhas and Shuddhanam. We try to achieve that particular position. But then there is also costless mercy. There is also, for somebody who have not even reached Namabhas, but has said only one name, he can go back home, back to Godhead. So we are begging for such a mercy. Because qualification-wise, if we say, today we are Bhakti Shastri, then Bhakti Vaibhav, then Shuddhanam, I don't know when we will reach. So it's very difficult. We only beg before the Lord. So that's why when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes before Jagannath Puri, he only begs. He only says that I have been lost in this crowd of lusty desires. So please turn it towards you and let me pray towards you. This is the prayer that he has. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he's just begging in his humility. He's begging, say Prananatha. He's saying that, oh Prananatha, oh my life soul, Jagannath, I have been just drowning in this lusty desires. So we just pray, we just pray, we just pray. We cannot attain, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj again and again says, we cannot attain the Lord by austerities. We cannot attain by saying we attended every single Mangalarti. We cannot attain by saying I followed Nirjala Ekadashi every day. Of course, these are parts of our devotional service, but that is not a precondition to get the Lord. The precondition is only causeless mercy. So we endeavor and we get causeless mercy. So to answer your question, Prabhu, generally Shuddhanam gives us the highest result, but we pray to the Lord to bestow His causeless mercy. And if we get the grace, Namabhas, no name, there is no cause, there is no reason. That's why it's causeless. We can go back home, back to God.
Otherwise, Namabhas leads up to impersonal liberation only, or something. It was somebody, some Prabhu had discussed someday.
Some are, I do not know. Yeah, I do not know, but it can give you higher planetary systems. It can give you material riches. If some people have desires in the heart, Namabhas can give material successes also. It can give higher planetary systems. Absolutely. No use.
Again, Janma Mejara.
Absolutely. So the best thing is to get, the best prayer is to get causeless mercy. But the best prayer to that is to be in the association of devotees and serve devotees who are getting causeless mercy. Because they are more causeless and they will give to everyone. So we hold
causeless to the power of causeless.
Yes. Causeless to the power of causeless. Absolutely.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prahlad Prabhuji, go ahead, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for allowing me to speak. And my Dharman Pranam to every Vaishnava here, and especially Haridas Varya Prabhuji. Excellent class, completely organized and properly. Straight goes into the mind. Very nice. Okay, before I would ask something. I want to say something in connection to what Sukhdev. I was reading this Laghu Bhagavatam yesterday, and there's a very nice slok there from Skand Puran and Prabhas Khand. I would not go for the Sanskrit, but let me read the translation which is given. It says, "O best of the Bhrigu dynasty." This is in the first chapter, the fourth text. "O best of the Bhrigu dynasty, the holy name of Krishna is the sweetest of the sweet and the most auspicious of the auspicious. It is a transcendental fruit of all the Vedas and purely spiritual. Whoever chants it but once, whether with faith or with contempt, is liberated." This was from the Skand Puran, Prabhas Khand. So I was so delighted when I read that. Said, "Oh, we have spoken so many times, Lord Krishna's name. He is going to have causeless mercy." Very good. So this was one thing. Another thing I was wondering always is whether did Yamraj and his DOG or whatever has committed any error in this case of Jamil, or there was no error?
The error was attempt. The attempt, there is generally murder and attempt to murder. We say like that. So the attempt, so the Lord is so, the way to understand is, I remember His Holiness Radha Govind Goswami Maharaj saying once, the Lord is so merciful. The Lord is merciful to Ajaman. The Lord is also merciful to Yamaraj and Yamakinkars. To give knowledge about what is right and what is wrong to the person who is supposed to be the judge or the justice is also mercy. And that is coming from the Lord. So before Yamaraj and Yamakinkars were supposed to do a mistake, the Vishnudutas arrived. So the Vishnudutas are arriving to shower mercy for two people. One is Ajamil anyway, also to the perfect servant of the Lord, who is Yamaraj, who is a Mahajan. Right. So they were going to attempt, and Vishnudutas anyway, in the course of discussion, taught them well. And when Yamaraj heard, oh, I have to put this in my induction boot camp lectures of my Yamakinkars, and he added that point. So he added that as well.
It's because, it says that Brahm Pramad Vipralip Sakarana Padav Arsa Vigna Vakya Dahi those Isab. So I was wondering, Yamaraj is a 12th Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahaj. How can he make such an error? But as you explained that, Lord Krishna's mercy is acting on both. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
We see sometimes that Yamaraj also makes an error in the Nachiketa's pastime.
Oh, yes.
In the Nachiketa's pastime, he makes Nachiketa stand while he is doing the rounds of all the hellish planets. It takes 3 days for Nachiketa, he stands. Right. And when he comes back, he says, did somebody give you food? And he says, nobody offered me food for 3 days. And what can I take from the stalls of the hellish planets? Nothing is edible. It's no onion, no garlic, no human. So I can't take anything from these stalls. Right. So he said, then what did you eat? And then he said, first day I ate all your vehicles. Second day I ate all your relatives, Yamaraj. And third day I ate all your piety. So sometimes Yamaraj does commit mistakes.
Right.
And there's a beautiful example of this, because as the maintainer and the king of Yamapuri, he's supposed to take care of all citizens, even the citizens who are at the doorsteps. Cut that to Dwarkadish. And then that's the shloka that we saw last time. There was Sudama coming in the distant horizon, and he started running down the flare of steps because the Brahmana is coming. So the Lord on the other side is taking care of all the guests before they knock on the door. Sometimes the living entities, due to their flaws, they forget about 3 days of Nachiketa standing at the door. It could be possible.
Thank you very much for Nachiketa's story. It was so nice.
Thank you.
Haribol, Prabhuji. Then what again? Haribol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Champaklata Mataji, Hare Krishna, please go ahead, Mataji.
Mataji, you're muted. Hare Krishna, Dandavats.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, and to all the devotees who are present on the call. And yeah, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I was hearing about King Kulashekara. I don't know much about King Kulashekara, but I was last time I was hearing Amarendra Prabhu's class also about this Maharaj King Kulashekara. So I was so curious and I wanted to read about him. So I thought I'll buy the book. So we got his book also.
Yes.
This is the book.
Yes, Mukundamala Sabra.
Yeah, Prabhuji, like if we read, do we understand, or else someone has to finish all Bhagavat and everything, then only we can understand if we read.
No, Mataji, this particular book, Mukundamala Stotra, the initial verses, Srila Prabhupada had started translating them, though Srila Prabhupada could not finish, and then it was later finished by some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. But King Kulashekara was one of the 12 alvars of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And Srila Prabhupada was slowly inching and writing some of the commentaries of some of the great works of the alvars as well. And Mukundamala Stotra is one of the gem of stotras written by King Kulashekara. So he was a Chera king. That means he was a king from the Chera Rajya, that is the Kerala province. And he was a very ardent Rama Bhakta. And he had written a lot of poetic texts, Mukundamala Stotra being one of them. Srila Prabhupada, in fact, used to chant one of the shlokas out of that book. Krishna Tvadiya Padapankarajo Madvaida Vichastume Manasa Raja Hamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavada Pittau Kantavarodana Ridau Smaranam Kutaste. So he used to speak this in a very choking voice. Srila Prabhupada used to narrate this verse. So definitely it was one of Prabhupada's favorite. And hence, Mataji, you can read those shlokas along with reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. There is no harm in that. It's one of those small books which is there in the arsenal of books of ISKCON.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanashri Prabhuji, please go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My humble pranams to everyone and mostly to you, of course. Please excuse my voice is really bad today. I have got a bad cold. One is I'm along with the Chaitanya Bhagavat. I'm also reading a book called The Teachings of Ramanujacharya, where I came across two words. One is Advaita, which is I know is like associated with Shankaracharya, and the other was Vishishta Advaita. What is the difference between the two?
Okay. So in a very simple way, I would like to put it forward, though it's a very deep subject matter, because two acharyas spent
Please
their whole
just
lifetime.
break it down to layman's words, please.
Yeah, I'll give you a simple example, Mataji, and be with me on this one, and you will understand. Suppose you go to the ocean, and let's say you go to the Arabic Ocean, whichever is closer to your place. You go to Udupi, you go to this Arabic Ocean, and you carry with you a plastic bottle, a Bisleri bottle of water. Okay. Now you go to the ocean and fill the water in the plastic bottle. Okay. Now I ask you, Mataji, what is the difference between the water in the bottle and the water in the ocean? Is there any difference?
No. The water is the same. The quality of the water is the same.
Yes, the quality of the water is the same. If you pour the water back in the ocean, both the ocean mixes. This is Advaitavad, which says that the living entity, which is like the water in the bottle, will merge back to the ocean.
Okay.
Right? Because the quality is the same. So the ocean is the same, the water is the same. But Ramanujacharya did not accept that. He gave Vishishta Advaita. He said the quality of the water in the bottle is also salt water. The quality of the water in the ocean is also salt water. But what about quantity? We can put a big ship in the ocean. Can you put the big ship in the Bisleri bottle? No. So the gunas, the qualities of the Lord is much, much greater. So that is Vishishta Advaita. So though we are the same in quality, the Jiva and the Lord are same in quality, Sat Chitan Ananda, but quantity wise he is greater. So we have to serve him. This is Vishishta.
Okay. Prabhuji, is there any way to read about the Alvaras in English? Is it possible?
I would suggest, Mataji, let's read some of our acharyas first.
I'm a voracious reader, so I just love books.
Sure,
I'm with books all day long.
I can suggest some, but yes, I will suggest you some books which you can get to know about. Some of our ISKCON devotees have written about the Alvars, and we can read from them. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the Advaita thing, because I was really getting confused. Everywhere it was coming Vishishta Advaita, but the book doesn't really explain what is Vishishta Advaita. No. So that's what I got confused with. Thank you.
There is one more book from the ISKCON stable, which is called as The Four Vaishnava Acharyas. In that, the four Vaishnava Acharyas, Vishwaswami, Nimbarkacharya, Madhvacharya, and Ramanujacharya is being discussed. In that, if my remembrance is right, page number 70 is the chapter which is called What is Vishishta Advaita? So there, 2-3 pages are given. Maybe I can send you a snapshot of that. That will explain it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Just one question I had. Are your parents okay now?
Yeah, they're fine. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sudhakar Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhu. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandapana.
I joined a little bit late in the session, but pardon me, my question if it is not complete. But I had two doubts related to today's topic, and also what I learned so far. At least I'm trying to learn the Bhagavad Gita. I'll not say I'm a master or reading all the scriptures. Two things. Yes, today's topic is what is the ideal king and ideal rule. I think you've given a great insight how the kingdom rules but practically, when I was just listening to your thing, is it possible to achieve in today's world in the sense that we all know that we Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, the characters of the human beings are different when compared to other yugas, which is clearly mentioned by the Lord himself, right? So what I mean to say, yeah, it is good. We can ideally we can have the Ram Raj, yes, but in reality, we see in the day-to-day's life, even the priest are himself acting like a thieves. But I'm not blaming to anybody. What I mean to say, that is how the mentality of the people's mind. So in reality, where this ideal rule can be applied to the modern society, if it applies, we'll be grateful. I'm not saying that in reality. The second question, which is indirectly related, I have this doubt. We read in the Bhagavad Gita and all, or God said that the Varnashram, right? There are some prescribed duties. Again, the duties are related to the ashram. So I understand from that one, if everybody follows their duties, like the king follow their duty, whosoever follows the duty, then everything will be Ramaraj. So that much I know, but I really could not find where are the actual prescribed duties, what are the prescribed duties of the, if you can help me in finding, because I tried to look and Google it, I could not find, there were different topics. I would like to have the reference of the proper scriptures, like where Bhagavad Gita is mentioned prescribed duties of what. For me, like today in the world, I'm just doing a job, like, okay, maybe not related to the caste, what I mean to say. So where everybody will know the prescribed duties in a simple, like a handout form. I'm not saying you refer to the all Vedas, nobody can read it, when God has himself. If you can throw some light on that one, it will be better.
Sure, Prabhu. Good questions. Let me first answer the first question. Is Ram Rajya applicable in modern world today? And how can we achieve it? So, as I said, it's in the consciousness. So let me just share from the scriptures rather than me giving an answer. So if you can see, this is from the last chapter of Ramayana. The scriptures mention the 103 sloka of 128th sarga. This is a very simple answer of how we can attain Ram Raju. Ramo Ramo Rama iti prajanam bhavan kataha Rama bhutam jagad bhudhrame rajyam prashasati. While Rama ruled the kingdom, or you can even read that to Rama to rule the kingdom in the modern day, the talks of the people centered around Rama, Rama, and Rama. So if the talks of the world is constantly centered around the Lord and Rama or Krishna, then what happens? The world became Rama's world. This is the simplest answer from Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana says. So if the whole world speaks Rama, 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 and the talks are always Rama, then the world and the rule is of Lord Rama. We are very far away from it. That is why the Vaishnavas are trying for Nityam Bhagavata Seva, by reading Bhagavatam, by establishing, by preaching books, by doing some kirtan. This consciousness is trying to be developed in Kali Yuga, where people are constantly speaking about Ram. Now, we have an understanding that for becoming Ram Rajya, the whole world will become Ram Rajya. No, wherever, whichever country, province, community, small sect of people are constantly thinking about Rama, Rama, Rama. Why not about this Zoom call right now? If everybody is talking only about Lord Ramchandra, this Zoom call right now, the rule is Rama's kingdom. Is reigning right now. So it's not about the boundary or a location, it's about the consciousness. It's about the talks, it's about what we speak. So yes, in Kali Yuga also it is possible. It is also possible in the hearts of the devotees, it is also possible. And the second way Srila Prabhupada mentions, and that is where we have to read the purport, is that he says, if because of the importance of the Krishna consciousness movement, people should be Krishna conscious. So the first premise for getting a Ram Rajya is that people should be Krishna conscious, which is through books, which is through chanting, which is through satsanga, which is through speaking Rama, 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 like we saw in the verse. And then, if it is a democratic process, do not vote anybody who is leader who is not Krishna conscious. So by ensuring these two, administratively or practically we can ensure a suitable government or a suitable system is found where there is God consciousness, Krishna consciousness everywhere. And that's how we see if there are any mismanagements, then he feels great compassion. So these are qualities which will come. So yes, it is possible if the subjects or the citizens of the world start speaking about Krishna consciousness. That means we have our duties to go and propagate this Sankirtan movement to everyone, induce their consciousness, and it is a process by which Ram Rajya can be ruled. So that is the one first answer. The second answer is, where can I get to know the prescribed duties? I would highly encourage you to read the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. In that first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhishma Dev, there is a chapter called as Passing Away of Bhishma Dev. In that, there is a great wealth of knowledge which Srila Prabhupada mentions in his purports of beautiful classification. There you go, text 26. In fact, he speaks about the 4 castes and 4 orders of life. If you read this and the next verses, you get each member, the Kshatriya, the member of administrative class, what they are supposed to do, the Vaishyas, what they are supposed to do, the Shudras, what they are supposed to do, and the Brahmanas, what they are supposed to do. These 4 paragraphs gives you a very small, beautiful glimpse of everyone. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. I will just paste this link in the chat. When you get time, please do read through this. This is the best summary that you can find of the 4 Varnas and 4 castes.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful answer, Prabhu. Sukakar Krishna Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhu. You are on mute, Prabhuji. Please unmute yourself.
You just now told about Vishishta Advaitam in the Ramanujacharya as well, where you said the quality-wise same but quantity-wise different. But our Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, which is our Dvaita, is it the same only? The name is different. Both are
No, it's still different. Simultaneously oneness and simultaneously different. It is one step ahead again. So we should. It's more different. So we should discuss that some other time. It's a little more a magnificent way of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda. We'll talk that sometime. Different.
But the point is same, that quality-wise same. And
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the tenets from all the sampradayas. That is why you see that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his Mata in Mayapur, he has established the temple for all the acharyas. There is all the 4 sampradayas being represented in his temple. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his whole mystery. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has done that great service to all the 4 Vaishnavas. So yes, but it's a separate topic in itself, and I am not that qualified to speak.
Sure.
Yes.
Puja
I see one question. I see one question on the chat, and before Puja Mataji, King Kulashekha wrote about Krishna in the book, as I heard. Pardon. Yes, he was more inclined towards as a Lord Ramchandra's Bhakta. But yes, he did write some verses on Krishna as well, some pasurams on Krishna as well, is my understanding. Yes, Puja Mataji, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, unmute yourself, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My question is that what is more important, a good attentive chanting with full of dedication, or to just complete our 16 rounds, to just in order to follow our Guru Parampara or the instructions? I mean, which is more important, Prabhuji?
Mataji, what is much better, just to eat or chew the food and eat?
Prabhuji, Both.
Yeah, just eating will not give us good nourishment. When we chew the food, we get all the nourishment, all the wonderful tastes of the food. It goes to different parts of the body. Similarly, just chanting 16 rounds is also glorious, but we should try our level best to be attentive while chanting. So Vandana Mataji today, when she spoke about the 10 offenses of chanting, we hear it's also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. The 10th offense speak about it. So we actually would like to listen carefully and chant to our best ability because it gives us the best benefits.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Vinita Gandharvika Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji.
That's what my humble obeisance is. Very, very beautiful class, Prabhu. If my question is wrong, please forgive me, Prabhu, but I just want to ask. Usually, the non-devotees question us when we talk like this, like you are saying the Lord's property was not able to touch by anybody, right? So why is that property if it is not used it for poor or when it is needed? But then you also gave an example of like how that bridge was protected, right? Pujari said, don't use this. You just depend upon the Lord and Lord will protect you. And then that happened. But then how to make understand of these things to non-devotees or general people? How do we make them to understand these things?
Yeah, so for the non-devotees, they always try to find faults. So it is for the non-devotees, we ask a very simple question. So many people are suffering from hunger, isn't it? So that means when they are going to eat, if we go and say them, please give this food also to the hungry people, what will they say? No, let me eat, then I will be strong, and then I will give it to others, isn't it? So similarly, there are some things which is the Lord's property, right? And there are various means. So now the government is thinking of creating a huge museum where everybody can come, see, and that money which is collected to come and see these riches, right? That is utilized for other welfare of the state. That itself is so great. So when the money generated just to come and see the riches itself can solve the purpose, why do you want to liquidate the riches? That's number one. Number two, the point is that these are not practically, these wealth points are not the ones which can be practically used today. These have antique values. These have emotional values. These have coins which are 600, 700 years old from the Chinese kingdom, from the Portuguese kingdom, from the French kingdom, where rubies and emeralds have come, right? And they have been presented to the Lord as a gift. Now, there are some reservations of some of my gifts. I cannot just go and give it to everyone. I have to honor that sentiment which has come from the person who has gifted. Suppose our grandfather gives us a gift, and though it is utilized for somebody, nobody can come and tell us, hey, why don't you give it away? I have some sentimental value for it. I have some emotional value for it. So Vaishnavas have got that emotional value that these were gifts given to the Lord, and that needs to stay with the Lord. So that is how it is. That's how we see it. So the non-devotees, we can always tell them that, yeah, there are many ways of serving the poor. This need not be the only one.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful answer. I have the same question what Vinita Gandharvika Mataji asked. Actually, our India is in crisis now, Prabhuji. Whatever money we have for Lord, we can use it for Lord, and rest of the money we can use it, no, Prabhu. But you gave the wonderful answer that
we are utilizing it in a way that it has increased tourism. Now, I would like to say that the deities, in fact, in 2001, the Lord has its own unique way. And when we speak about Padmanabha, we should have a session sometimes only hearing about his glories. In 2001, and I would like to say this, Mataji, because you asked, in 2001, when the temple deities were opened, they found that a part of the Lord was chipped at his feet, and it was broken. The deity was broken. And it is considered very inauspicious. So what they did is they kept the astrology and they said we should go and consult the king, because the king is the servant and the caretaker of the temple. So they went and knocked on the door on the Kaudiyar palace, which is there in Kerala. And the king came limping, opening the door. And he said yesterday night he got the same gash on his foot. And they understood the king is the representative of the Lord. He got the same gash on the foot at the same place where the deities were broken. And then they came to know we have to clean the temple. We have to clean it in such a way that all these incongruencies that have happened, that have to go away. And you wouldn't believe, Mataji, overnight, the temple was closed. In the last 1,000 years, never the temple was closed. To clean the temple was closed. And the next day, they were supposed to open the temple. And when they opened the temple, they got the sight that they could never believe. The whole Lord had turned into gold. Nobody touched it. And you can see that in Google even today. If you just type 2000, 2001, this darshan happened in 2001, the Lord turned into gold. And when that news broke out, the whole city was inside the temple trying to see the Lord. And the administrators thought that there is something wrong, there is something money-making in the business. The archaeological department came and saw the Lord. And they found out that just to protect the Lord from the Muslim invasions of Tipu Sultan, they had covered the Lord with jaggery and sesame seeds. And now the Lord felt, I don't have any issues. And he just shook himself up and the gold was revealed. So today, if you go and see the Lord, you can see him in gold. But I got the distinct opportunity and with my forefathers to see the Lord without gold and with gold. So this is very, very clear that the Lord decides how, when he wants to manifest, what he wants to do. It is his property. And he can maintain without touching this property. And he is doing that for the people of Twala. We need to have that faith.
Yeah, thank you so much for wonderful. And do we have some more time, Prabhu? I think Pooja Mataji has some questions.
Yes, I do have. Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pooja Mataji.
प्रभु जी एक क्वेश्चन मैं हरे कृष्णा
Yeah, Mataji, go ahead.
प्रभु जी मैं बस ये पूछना चाह रही थी कि हम लोग जैसे तो यहाँ पर प्रभु जी जो हम गुरुद्वारा साहिब में जाते हैं मेनली मतलब वहां पर क्या होता है कि जो यूज होता है और वही सर्व होता है और इस तरीके से और वहां पर जितनी भी गुरबाणी में हरि का नाम आता है तो जैसे हम एक पाठी मिले थे मुझे गुरुद्वारे में तो हमने उनसे ये पूछा ये आप जो भोजन सर्व करते हैं इनको आप विदाउट अनियन गार्लिक अगर सर्व करना शुरू करो तो ये बहुत सात्विक हो जाएगा इस तरीके से तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये हमारा ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता ये आप लोगों की सोच ऐसा तामसिक सात्विक कुछ नहीं होता जब वो प्रसाद हो जाता है तो वो खुद ही सात्विक हो जाता है उसमें आप इतना सोचो मत ये प्रसाद है आप इसे ले लो इसमें अनियन गार्लिक है तो इसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं है ये सालों से चल रहा है अब आप लोगों के किसी के और दूसरी चीज प्रभु जी वो ये कहते हैं कि हम लोग कोई मतलब वो तो अपना उनके रिचुअल्स अलग हैं वो अपना गुरबाणी का सुखमनी साहिब और ये सब पाठ करते हैं तो वो कहते हैं हम लोग सचखंड जाएंगे जैसे हम लोग हम लोग कहते हैं कि हम बैक टू गॉड हेड कहते हैं तो यहाँ गुरुद्वारे में कहा जाता है कि हम लोग सचखंड जाएंगे बट वो तो किसी इस तरह से कोई इंस्ट्रक्शंस फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हैं प्रभु जी तो इसमें हम किस तरह से लें कि क्या वो सच कह रहे हैं कि मतलब ये भी एक रास्ता है हरि से मिलने का क्योंकि पूरी गुरबाणी में इतना नाम हरि का जितना आता है हर लाइन में मैंने देखा है हर तरह के पाठ सुनती हूँ हिरण्यकश्यप की कथा अजामिल की कथा ध्रुव महाराज की कथा कुंती ही है प्रभु जी तो आ जाके है तो हरि का ही नाम लेकिन वो उसी और पर्सपेक्टिव से लेते हैं वो कहते हैं कि ना हम तो इसी मीडियम को ही अपनाएंगे और हम ऐसे ही सचखंड हम वो सचखंड कहते हैं प्रभु जी तो ये क्या है मतलब थोड़ा आप समझाएंगे
Okay, so the question is that, just for the speaking of English audience, is that Mataji is saying she goes to Gurudwara, and when she hears from the Gurudwara people, sometimes they offer foodstuffs which has onion and garlic, but they kind of speak that the Guru Nanak's Granth also speaks about Krishna. So when they ask why do they include onion and garlic, why can't they make a sattvic diet? They say that, no, it's your thought. You can make it sattvic. Once it is offered, it has become sattvic, though it has onion and garlic. And the second is Mataji is saying that she reads that a lot of these verses have the mention of Hari, and they speak about a other abode, which is Sach Dham, as she says. And how is it different from Golok Dham? So let me answer both the questions, Mataji. The first question is that different people have different faiths, but we follow a sampradaya, we follow an acharya, and we follow Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And for us, it is very clear that we offer Krishna what he wants. Generally, if he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what he wants. And he does not like onion and garlic in his food. And it is considered to be sattvic without the use of onion and garlic. Now, sometimes the administrators of Gurudwara and many other places, they do not follow that for ensuring either they want to bring more people or they do not follow it to their scriptures. Whereas Guru Granth Sahib, Guru Nanak, there is no reference of him eating onion and garlic. So if they are following their acharya, there is clear mention of not utilizing those materials. So from our perspective, Mataji, we should say we generally do not eat prasadam, which is offered to other demigods. We eat prasadam which is offered to Krishna, which is sattvic in nature, which is transcendental in nature, by offering tulsi without onion and garlic. So it's good that you suggested them. That's really good. But if they don't follow it, just don't bother about it. But you can continue eating prasadam, very nice prasadam in our ISKCON temple, without onion and garlic. The second way is on the destination that they speak about. Yeah, they could be speaking about the destination that Guru Nanak spoke about, but ours is very clear from a Shastric Praman. It's about Golok Dham. There could be same names, different names. I have not read Guru Nanak's Granth Sahib, but I have heard many verses where he mentions very clearly Lord Krishna's name. And so it is always better to go direct, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the direct way to Krishna. So why to touch the goal like this when you can directly touch like this? So this process is very simple, chanting Hare Krishna, and the process gives you the final destination. And it is very nice that we follow this. So we don't need to argue with them, let them follow their principles, but we continue in our way, which is is what I would suggest, Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Yes.
प्रभु जी, हाँ, मैं आपकी बात समझ गई। बस इसमें मैं ये कहना चाह रही थी कि क्या उनका उनका क्योंकि वो थोड़ा प्रोस्पेक्टिव उनका अलग है, तो उसमें क्या होगा कि वो हरि की भक्ति करेंगे तो उनको जो नेक्स्ट बर्थ मिलेगा वैष्णव परिवार में मिलेगा और फिर वो हरि भक्ति करेंगे।
That is not our perspective, Mataji. That is between Krishna and them. We definitely cannot say. We can maintain our boat properly. Let us row our boat properly first. And when we row our boat, then we can comment on others. Maybe they are going at a faster pace, and maybe we catch their dhoti and say, put some bhakti to us. But our boat is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's boat, and let us row our boat. We don't know what they are. That is Krishna and Guru Nanak and them. We just say Hare Krishna. I do not know what to say, Mataji. We just follow our boat in a proper way, stay in our.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. I see a comment that very inspiring. Yes, the name of the Vaishnava is tarnished. Yes, that's correct. Sundaraj Iyengar's name was tarnished in the media as a person who brought dooms by opening the vaults. That's what Krishna wants to do. Krishna wants to ensure that the Vaishnava is glorified only in the Vaishnava circle, and others don't know his glories. So, in fact, those who have walked with him, in fact, he was such a wonderful devotee that every day when you used to go to the temple, there is a Nrsimhadev's temple. In front of that, there is a giant lamp. You might have seen these Kerala lamps. There are huge giant lamps. He used to offer every day 2 liters of ghee. Every day, my dear devotees, 2 liters of ghee as lamps to Nrsimhadev. One in the morning and one in the evening. 2 liters. And it goes into one lamp. One ghee every day. And then that devotee will not be protected. It's impossible.
Yes, Prabhu. So,
Yes. Yeah.
So Kakar Krishna Prabhu, any comments from you, Prabhu? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this Sachidam means in that Satyiloka, maybe they're telling Sachidam. Because
I don't know.
they're telling Sachidam.
I really don't know.
And they are not coming in one of the 4 sampradayas. So why unnecessarily confused about them? Let us follow what we have got. Prabhupada has given, Guru Maharaj has given, and Chaitanya
No, we
has given.
meet, no, from Mataji's perspective, we meet sometimes, but yes, Hare Krishna. But they get inspired. They said, somewhere I have read, I do not know the quotes. I am not a researcher on the Sikhism, but I heard that some of his verses do glorify Krishna, and he always glorifies them. So that's very wonderful. So we just get inspired. Everybody is talking about Krishna, so we have a direct access, so we'll follow.
That's why we follow our boat, not to
Yes.
here and there, our boat.
Oh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Krishna. Very, very beautiful class, Prabhuji, and how nicely you related the story of Achamila and the Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas with the king and the and Lord Ram, and it's amazing, Prabhuji. Very nice and very beautiful pastimes from South India, the temples and the rulers and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We feel so proud, for our culture and our history and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and this should inspire us to go and visit these temples and visit these citizens, or these Dhamvasis for which the Lord came, and bless and beg from them the bhakti. And they are there even today, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. And these Britishers, they got the mercy. And in fact, that British Colonel Lionel Blaze, he constructed Mother Sita's temple with those granite stones. And his name is inscribed today as he is the donor, the first temple lifetime donor. So this is wonderful.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, may I?
Yes. Yeah, quite true.
Yeah, today we discussed Kulsekar King so much, and I liked his slokas, so many of them. But I want to sing one, if you allow me to sing.
Please.
The 27th one says, Namami Narayana Pad Pankajam Karumi Narayana Pujanam Sada Vadami Narayana Nirmalam Smarami Narayana Tatmamavyayam. Then he said, Satruchedaka Mantram Sakala Upanishad Vakyam Sampujya Mantram Sansarucheda Mantram Samuchita Tamasah Sangha Niryana Mantram Sarva Aiswaryeka Mantram Vyasana Bhujag Sandasta Vyasana Bhujag Sandasta Santrana Mantram Jihuvesi Krishna Mantram Japa Japa Satatam Janma Safalya Mantram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Thank you so very much for allowing
Wonderful,
me.
bro. Wonderful, bro. Wonderful. So melodious.
Thank you very
Nice.
much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just want to mention one thing, just one, if you allow me, Prabhuji, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is the topmost devotee of Krishna. Topmost devotee, Prabhuji. Yes. In Guru Granth Sahib, he mentioned that he is the servant of Lord Krishna. Yes. And yes, Prabhuji, and there are so many other shlokas which clearly shows that Guru Nanak is the topmost devotee of Krishna, and he recommends that we have to follow Krishna's instruction as it is. In whole Guru Granth Sahib, there are so many versions like Sukhmani Sahib, Jaip Sahib, Haridas Sahib. In each and every part, there are, 100 times repeated Hari, Hari, Hari ka naam aradho, Hari ka naam, Krishna naam, Hari naam.
So we follow his instructions and chant Hari Ram Mataji.
Yes,
Hare
yes,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Hare Krishna,
yes,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, Prabhuji.
Jai. Guru Nanak ki Jai.
Keep chanting Mahamantra only.
He's chanting Hari Name. Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for enlightening
Thank you,
class today,
Mataji.
Prabhu. We are very
Thank
fortunate.
you.
And we look forward for your association again and again in the future, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Let
Thank
us
you.
give obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Great Grace Haridas Varya Prabhu ji ki jai.
Prabhupada
Ki
ki
jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. All glories to Shri.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Kundas.
Gauranga, Nityananda,
Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare
Nityananda,
Krishna.
Gauranga,
Gauranga, Nityananda.
Hari Hari,
Hare
For
Radhe
joining
Radhe,
Srimad Bhagavatam
Shyam
class
Radhe.
tomorrow. Hari Bol.
Radhe